Well, we're starting this edition of This Is Exclusive with a big story that we have been tracking very closely. It's about Rahul Gandhi's visit to London. We've always seen that when it comes to Rahul Gandhi's foreign visits, he's always landed up in some trouble or the other. But this time, there was one person who's representing India, and he's had the guts, the courage to question Rahul Gandhi. In fact, Siddhartha Verma, an IRTS officer, questioned Congress leader Rahul Gandhi's on his statement that India is not a nation, but a union of states. Mr. Verma is currently a Commonwealth scholar in public policy at the Cambridge University. In fact, this is our big exclusive. Siddhartha Verma is joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Verma, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Let me straight away begin by asking you, you're all over the social platforms right now for questioning Rahul Gandhi, and many would say rightfully so. I want you to take our viewers through the details of this conversation that you've had with Rahul Gandhi. But before we do that, Mr. Verma, let's just play out a bit of the video that was put out by you so that our viewers can understand the context in which you've asked that question, and then we'll get into the details of it. We're extremely delighted to have you on our broadcast. Let's just take a look at this clip that was put out by Mr. Verma on Twitter.
You quoted Article 1 of the Constitution saying India, that is Bharat, is a union of states as per the Constitution. But if you turn a page back and look at the preamble, it does mention that India is a nation. Bharat itself is one of the oldest surviving civilizations of the world. And the term finds its origin in the Vedas. So we have a really old civilization. So Chanakya, even Chanakya, when he interacted with his students in Takshashila, he made it clear to them that they might belong to different Mahajanpads, but ultimately they belong to a nation that is Bharat. Adi Shankaracharya, he said, 10 seconds.
One second. Did he use the word nation?
He said, you belong to a Rashtra. Rashtra is, the Sanskrit.
Rashtra is kingdom.
Rashtra, no, it's a Sanskrit name for a nation. So
Nation is the word nation, right, is a Western concept.
So when I talk about nation, I don't just talk about a political entity, because we've had these experiments across the world. You had USSR, you had Yugoslavia, you had the experimentation with the United Arab Republic. So unless nations have a strong socio-cultural and emotional bonding and a composite culture, a constitution cannot make a nation. Nations make constitutions. My question is, don't you think as a political leader, your idea of India is not only flawed and incorrect, but also destructive because it attempts to whitewash a history of thousands of years?
Joining us on this broadcast is Mr. Verma, the gentleman who's actually had the courage to take on this question to Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Mr. Verma, let me straight away begin by asking you, I see that while you were asking that question, there was a lot of commotion all around you, attempts that were basically made to disrupt your question. I want you to put this into context, because that entire video is still not been uploaded, so many people would not really understand what's the context behind you actually asking that question to Rahul Gandhi as far as nationhood is concerned.
Thank you so much for having me. Namaskar to all the viewers of Republic. So I was quite concerned with what happened. A couple of days ago, there was another meeting in London in which similar ideas were made by Rahul Gandhi that India is not a nation. It is, a union of states, which was a result of negotiations between states. And so I was quite concerned about it. And he started this talk also with the same idea. So I questioned him on this and asked him, how are you saying that India is not a nation when we all know that Bharat itself, the term finds its origin, in the Mahabharata, the Vedas, you have the Vishnu Puran, and such a, long history of thousands of years in which we share similar cultural ethos, values, and a civilizational history. Now, during the time when I was making these comments, there was a lot of interruption. Some of it was from the interviewer, but there was also a lot of denial agitation, and people around me were getting quite irritated because they probably subscribe to a different kind of ideas, which feel that India is a political artificial kind of entity which was found 75 years ago, which I completely disagree with. And I'm sure most of Indians who have grown up here, who associate with the Bharatiya Sanskriti, do not believe in it. Prime Minister Modi has said this on many occasions, that India has a great cultural heritage and a civilizational history, and Indians need to be proud of it, need to know more about it, need to acknowledge it. And that's where the idea of Indian nation comes from.
Mr. Verma, can I also take this one question about the context of this very question that you posed to Rahul Gandhi? And many would say that by making that statement, Rahul Gandhi is actually trying to wipe out the history behind this oldest civilization. Is that the real context why you actually asked that question to Rahul Gandhi?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you go into this, Indian states are not states in the way, you have states in the United States. India is a really old civilization in which states have more than just a legal document which binds us together, right? So the constitution was, there was this one term which I used, that nations form constitutions. Constitutions don't make nations. And this is the crux of the whole argument.